Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Eric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. And as we record this, we have spent a weekend together just spring cleaning, and our list just grows as we clean. And I looked at you in the last 30 minutes. I was like, what is wrong with us? Why can't we just sit down?
I don't know, but we are messed up in the head.
We've done a lot of things this weekend. Our house, we've done a lot of things around our house for our kids to come home and mess up. That's what we've done.
Yeah. Well, I think you started it because you started this spring cleaning shared notes. So
I did.
If you guys don't do that, I highly recommend having shared notes on your phone with your spouse. We have a grocery list. We have to-dos. We have goals. We have podcast topics. And Eric started one that was just specific to spring cleaning, and he shared it with me. And then, he had 4 things on there and I added 8. So it's been a weekend of serious box checking. It all needed to be done.
It did. I feel like starting these notes with you as a connection point. I know how much you like to check boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a way for us to connect. And we have done that this weekend in things like cleaning the lights that you see behind me. They have little screens that you take off, and we've been cleaning those even.
And I'm in the middle of cleaning the fridge, and I was telling Eric, this is gross. This is gross. And I'm pretty sure I haven't cleaned the fridge since before Hallie died. When you go through so much trauma and sadness, the last thing you're going to do is clean your fridge. You're doing the bare minimum to get by.
Right.
So it's been a refreshing weekend. I think I told you last night. So that would have been Saturday, where we did all kinds of stuff. We walked 3 miles. We went to summer soccer game. We put together an entertainment center. Actually, it's right behind you. We did all kinds of things and we had fun. And I'm today felt like a day before we lost Hallie, of just some sense of normalcy and just a little bit lighter. But that's actually not our topic.
No, I will say after you said that to me and we started to go to sleep, I did stop and just thank God for that moment that you said that, and that we had such a beautiful day and that he would allow us to have more. So yeah, it's been a nice weekend, but a very busy weekend that we thought, let's just record some more podcasts to try to get ahead, because that's what we do. Yeah. And we had mentioned on our trip to Antigua that I had asked Angie to read a book. We haven't done a book review since I think season 1, maybe, of the podcast. We struggle to remember the name of the book. It's been so long, but we had set a goal for ourselves this year as a couple to read 1 book together. Check that box.
Yeah, I think you guilted me into this one.
I didn't guilt
but
you.
I did it.
I shared with you an emotion and a feeling, and then you connected with me over it. That's how I prefer to look at it. So
yeah. Well, and I don't even know how you came across this book, actually.
Part of my book reading each year is I usually read 2 books in my men's Bible study and 2 books through my work every 6 months in our sales training. And so at my office, my boss, Carrie, first had us listen to the YouTube video that was very powerful from this guy telling a story about how his dad one more time was going to stop drinking when he was 15 years old. And his dad did that time for the rest of his life. He lived one more day of sobriety. And it inspired this book, The Power of One More by Ed Mylet. And it's just, I started reading it and I couldn't put it down. Yes, I stopped drinking now 7.5 months ago. So that resonated with me. But as soon as I got into the very first chapter, I was hooked, because you, for years, have told me that I don't live up to my full potential, that I coast by in life.
The
which
easy path.
I've coasted pretty well. But I do understand that there is more I can do. And so the very first chapter, he started talking about adjusting your identity thermostat. And that just hooked me because it connected me back to the things that you had said to me so many times about how I viewed myself. And for all of us, we kind of live at right around 70, right? 70 degrees in your house. We kind of live right there in the way that we do day to day. And then sometimes we start to like really, really thrive and achieve, and we might get up to 90, 95. And then we get scared or whatever the reasoning might be, and we pull ourselves back down to comfort mode of 70. Sometimes we'll go below that when we're in a bad, tough season of life and we have to pull ourselves back up to 70. But the main message of this initial chapter was just, how do we reset our identity thermostat? And that hooked me in from the beginning.
I do think that the book has very simple concepts that you can apply. And I'd be curious your thoughts on this. Like, who do you think is the right audience for this book? Like, who would you recommend it to? Because I'm reading it and I'm like, okay, this is very simple concepts, I think, the way he lays it out for people to understand. So to me, it's like a young adult who wants to kind of map out a path for greatness and to be able to challenge themselves. I think it's also for someone that does feel stuck and knows they want to grow, but they don't know how to do it. What's your thoughts on it?
That's 100% it, right? Like if you're older in life and you're, established and you feel really good, like you don't want to change anything, book's probably not for you. Mm-mm. Young adult, I would love it if all of our kids would read this. They probably won't. Lexi might, because she does what we ask her to do. But I mean, young people, teenagers, 20s, early 30s, and then really, let's say you get to 40 some years old and you're like, I still want more. Then I think this book is for you. Maybe you've just finished a divorce and you're thinking, what's next for me? How do I reset? Then this book, I think, is going to be good for that. So that'd be my thought. You're right. A lot of simple takeaways that are easy to apply. And that's what I love. I'm a simple-minded man. 'Cause I'm a simple kind of man. Sorry, that just hit.
So here's my thought on this episode is that if someone doesn't really have time to pick up a book, maybe you and I go back and forth and share key takeaways from the book so they can get sort of a highlighted summary of it.
Yes, I referenced chapter 1 a minute ago. We are not going to go chapter by chapter in this book report. Okay. That is not, we're just going to high point back and forth. And then hopefully when we're done, you'll have some good takeaways that you'll go, oh, yes, I do like that. And then if you want to pick up the book, you sure can. I've already written a blog on this, some of the books that I've been reading. And this is one of them at milesforhim.com. In case you missed that last week. Yeah. Trying to build it up, build the brand. Still working on the social media pages, but
yeah.
And the weather's getting nice. I just want new men that I can walk with. So
got it. So I think for me, one of the things that stuck out right out of the gate was self-confidence. And, everybody knows I'm super passionate about this, particularly with women around self-confidence, self-worth. And some of the things that he shared in there, which also was covered in our sermon this morning around you are not your possessions. They do not matter. I love having a nice car. It's freaking metal. Like it does not matter. And so I think going through something tragic or life altering, like losing Hallie, I maybe valued having a super nice car before that because I was creating my own reality and, possessions and achievements, that's what matters. It does not, because in a second, your life completely changes and you would give anything to have that life back. So you're not defined by that and you should not connect your identity to physical things, which means you're not your accomplishments. If you tie everything to what you achieve and that's your value and worth, all of that is fading. Physical appearance is another one. What happens to all of us? We are all going to age and that's all going to be fleeting. So you are not your appearance. And you're also, here's another one that gets everybody. You are not what people think of you. You're not.
Amen. Amen.
You are you. And so your confidence has to be wrapped up in you, because that is what does not fade. Achievements fade, appearance fades, your car wears out. All of it is fleeting. And so if you're confident in yourself, regardless of what you have, regardless of your good and bad struggles and the joy, then you will never lose your identity, because your identity is in you. So I think that out of the gate, when I read that, it was like I was writing a ton of notes down, because that to me is just something everybody needs to be reminded of on a daily basis.
I would take that just a little bit. You said your identity is in you. I would say your identity is in Jesus. And so but that's where it gets comfortable.
Yeah,
and I completely agree with what you said a minute ago about the possessions. I lived for so long because it was into my 30s before I started. I really feel like I had anything. And now here we are just 10 years later. And when we lost Hallie, I was like, none of this matters. I could drive a car that's a beater. I really don't care if it gets me point A to point B. I really don't need a whole lot anymore, because I realize that it's really about my relationship with Jesus. And I like to walk, and I like to have time to think and pray. And that's really where I'm at. And how can I help other people know Jesus better? And so, yeah, I totally could relate to those things. And even the looks. Like, I thought when I quit drinking 7.5 months ago, these bags under my eyes would go away, and they have not. So I don't know. Just giving that up, I guess. I'll tell you this takeaway I had early on. Again, back to simple things. And I am a man, so the simpler, the better. He talks in chapter 3 about the power of one more try in the most simplistic way that we can all relate to, because we've all gone to a birthday party where there's a piñata.
You're stealing my notes.
I'm not even looking at your notes. We just had a same one here that we can collaborate on, in that, the power of one more. We've been honest and talked before, like, should we even continue this podcast? Because it's a lot of work and we don't make any money doing it, but we do help other people. And that's what, we just said a minute ago, like helping other people. So we do that. And so, but I keep thinking, if we just do one more podcast, how many more people will we help? And so it's like hitting a piñata, right? It's that last kid that hits it and knocks it open that everybody's like, oh my gosh. But it's a collaboration of hit after hit after hit, and doing one more so that you can finally get there.
Yeah, I wrote that down too, because the example of the piñata that resonated with me is that you could be hitting it and not thinking that you're making progress. And you give all the glory to the person that busted it open. Mm-hmm. But was it just that one shot that busted it open? No, it's like all the hits that you're slowly making cracks and breaking something open that you didn't even see. So
it's like going to the gym.
Right. I think the other thing that stood out for me, and I've used this quote a ton with the kids, but it's, if you think you can or you can't, you're right. And so you will find what you're searching for. I 1,000% believe this. And I kind of talk out both sides of my mouth sometimes, because I have a little tattoo that's like create your own reality. And that was before I was really strong in my faith, because I thought I was in charge. But there is some aspect of that you are in charge. Now, God is ultimately in power, right? He ultimately governs over us. But there's also this concept around your thoughts and how much your thoughts can change and impact your life. So you will find what you're searching for. So if things offend you, you're going to find things that offend you. If you're looking for gratitude, you're going to find things that you are grateful for. So it's this garbage in, garbage out type of thing. And it's the law of attraction. I read this book a long time ago, years ago, called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And it's about you are what you attract. Your thoughts can attract what you want. But it's this repeatable thing in your head. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Guess what? You're not going to be good enough, because you're telling yourself that. And so it's like, first you have to be able to believe and envision what you want, what your goals are. And that's the start of manifesting it. Then the second thing is you got to believe in yourself. In order for anything to happen, you've got to believe it. And you have to trust that God's there, that you are enough, all the things. And then you have to also be open to receiving it. And years ago, I had the kids create vision boards because the whole purpose behind vision boards is training your mind to see it and believe it so that you can achieve it. And there's a whole section in this book all about those collective kind of points to bring home.
I can feel my own thoughts since I've read this book being more positive, and that, even trying to, on days when things I know are hard for you, be like, we are fine and things are going to be good. Like I can see it. I really believe in my heart right now. Good things are on the horizon for us. We've been in a dark valley now for almost 2.5 years, and we've clawed every day, and it's that one more try, one more day. So I do think that good things are coming for our marriage, maybe for this podcast. Who knows what it's going to be, maybe for our children. But obviously, I'm feeling that garbage in, garbage out, what you said a minute ago. It's like, what do you believe? And I choose right now to believe that we are on a positive path. Now, this kind of goes back to our to-do list a little bit from the beginning of today's episode, but I've really been liking time management. And he talks about in here how to maximize your day and get more time than any of the people that you are doing life with. And this is super extreme, but he does like 3 8-hour days. So I want to say he broke it up from like 4 a.m. to noon to 8, something like that, something crazy like that. I can't quite do that. So what I did was I started to break down in my mind, all right, if I can do like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., and I'm really focused on these things, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. and I'm really focused on these things, but then I sleep from 10 to 6. I'm still sleeping for 8 hours a day, but where a lot of people are just doing a 9 to 5 day and they're getting 8 hours, at that point, I've given myself 16 hours to almost double my time that I have to accomplish things and get things done. Now, in that, you have to build in time so that you can decompress, which we're not great at, but so you can relax and kind of breathe and take a little bit of time for yourself. But I also feel like I have been hyper achieving over the last several weeks at getting things done. To-do lists have just been getting taken out left and right. I feel really accomplished in the things that I'm doing. And so if you struggle with time management, there's a chapter in this book that's all about that.
To pile onto that, it goes back to this theme we've mentioned the last couple episodes around just do it.
Yes.
And he had a quote in there I wrote this down. Procrastination is opportunity's assassin.
So good.
So procrastination will take out any opportunity that you have. And so it's this theme of just do it. It's too expensive to not just do it, because the most expensive and the most valuable thing that we all have and are in control of minute by minute is our time. Don't waste it filled with regret, doubt, imagining what could have been, like looking in that rearview mirror. You're not going that way. So it all comes back to having that confidence and belief in yourself and your thoughts drive success. And then you've got to just do it. The limitations that we all put on ourselves are just that. It is what we are putting on ourselves. So many people kind of accept the lesser life because they're afraid of challenging themselves, afraid of messing up, of not being successful. And that doubt will hold you back if you don't allow it to fuel you. Another thing that he had on there too that I wrote down, and I had to reread it several times because at first it didn't make sense to me, but it was this quote that's very simple. It's 3 words. Nothing creates everything. And you're like, what? I don't understand that. But then once I reread it several times, it's me. It's us. It's when you have nothing left, completely empty. That's when everything gets built. And nobody will do this for you. Nobody's picking me up every day. I'm getting up every day at the lowest of lows that you could ever imagine. I mean, when I think about it, instantly tears of just how awful and painful it is to experience your child dying. I had nothing in my heart and soul. And that's when everything gets created. And I think sometimes people think, oh, well, you're brave, you're so strong. And it's like, I wish I could describe how that feels. I don't feel strong or brave or courageous. Sometimes the strongest, bravest thing you can do is just simply say at night, I'm going to give it one more try tomorrow. That's simple. I'm going to get back up tomorrow. That's brave. That's courageous when you have nothing, when you are so broken. Because I think people wait for this feeling.
Right. Like it's going to just come.
Whenever I feel strong, whenever I'm like feel ready, you're never going to feel ready. I don't feel ready every day. I just freaking get up. I get up.
You know what you do though? You hold yourself to a standard. And that was 2 chapters that he did in the book that really set things apart for me. I didn't think about it. A lot of times we think of goals and standards as the same thing, but they're very different. And that part of the book, it's pretty much in the middle. That really started to click for me in that we both work in environments where we're held to goals for our success. Mm-hmm. And so you see these goals. We might set weight loss goals in our personal life. We might set relationship goals. But if you're not then holding yourself to a standard, it becomes so hard to actually achieve the goals that you set for yourself. And so that was another thing that for me, once I understood his definition for what each was, like I've been dealing with goals for the last 20 plus years of my life. Sometimes they were easier to hit than other times. And then as I realized when I hold myself to a certain standard and accountability, how much easier it is to hit those goals. It's way easier to lose 30 pounds and to feel good about yourself when you're not drinking multiple times a week. It's way easier to achieve your work goals when you're up early and you're getting everything done during a day so that the next day you're prepared to take that day on. And it's easier to drag yourself out of bed, even on the days that you don't want to, that you feel like you have nothing, when the standard that you've set for yourself is, here's where I'm going to be today. I have to meet that standard. Then everything else does start to, I believe, fall into place. And again, goes back to what you talked about a minute ago. Like there are days where you don't want to get out of bed, but you have a standard for yourself to be a certain mom, to be a certain friend, coworker, wife, and you pull yourself out to live up to that standard.
Well, and I think the other point that he has in there, it's very simple, and that is time is a constant. The clock is always ticking. Only most people treat it like it's a variable. And I think that's where you and I, we kicked off the podcast talking about this. This is where you and I would say hyperachieve. But it's only because we have learned the hardest lesson, because we know time is limited. And so we fill our days with productive work. We're always going, always creating, always imagining. And we both get annoyed by the loss of time or if something's inefficient. But it's because we know we only have a limited amount of time. And it's just like you just see this clock spinning. And I think it's important to take stock daily of how you're using your time. Because if you think you have all the time in the world, sadly mistaken, because tomorrow's promised to no one. No one. So think of time as a constant and it's going by. It's just clock keeps running. It doesn't stop.
I loved how towards the end of the book, he referenced an entire chapter on the power of one more prayer. And how he says in here, because I believe fully in the power of faith and prayer, I am never alone. And that even goes back a little bit this morning to what we heard in our church service this morning, that, when we surrender all to God in prayer, he is with us. It doesn't mean we're going to get the answer in prayer that we want to all the time, but we know that we're not alone. And there are days where all of us feel isolated and alone, and just setting a standard for yourself isn't enough. So if you have a belief and a faith, and you can get up and say one more prayer, and I don't know what that prayer for you might be today, but when you can do that, you give yourself the power of one more to get up and be your best self. And I do. I mean, obviously we've been in a series of prayer at church for several months now. And I do find myself praying constantly throughout the day for different things, not perfect prayers, as we've talked about. Sometimes it's just like, Lord, help me get through this hour. But in doing so, it's given me more of a steadiness, I would say, a comfortability to know that I don't have to rely on you or the kids for anything. I can rely on God to sit with me, to be with me. And so I do love that he put a chapter on prayer and faith in the book.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been thinking about recently, and he talks about it in this book, but like if you could give your kids just one piece of advice that they had to follow, like out of all the things in life, what would be that one piece of advice that you would give them if you knew they had to follow it? And I know mine. I've talked about it in great detail. My one piece of advice for the kids that if they had to listen to it is who you surround yourself matters. It determines who you're going to be because you are the sum of your relationships. It impacts your life daily, whether it's like strong faith. That's something I pray for. I pray for my kids to have great friends that lift them up, that will help them be successful, to be great people. Because in life, though, you're rarely in the same circle. You know, you think about when you're in grade school and how those people impact. Everybody remembers certain people in grade school that had an impact on them, whether good or bad. In high school and college and being a young adult and middle age, like your circle evolves and changes as you grow. And I would challenge everybody to think about your circle because people come in and out for a reason, right? You're impacted by people and it absolutely impacts your life. Are the people around you aligned with what you want to accomplish? If not, go find new people, connect with new people. We live in an age where it's easier than ever to connect with people. I talked to a mom in India, in London, in Texas, in Michigan, in Nebraska, in California. And they're all people that inspire me and I stay close to them. But that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people that I can learn from, that have accomplished, that are fighting the same fight as me. And I tell my kids too, like, if you were the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Like you need to be around people that help you, that guide you, been there before, that you can learn from. I think that to me is just such a key thing for all of our kids, for ourselves even, to really understand that who you're surrounding yourself with, that's determining your success.
I think you're really right. When you want to always be number one, and I think when I was younger, I probably wanted that, but I don't now. Now I try to surround myself with men who know more than I do, who can help me to grow. If you're the best, if you're always the number one in your room's too small because you're not growing. You're not getting anything from that. So I do think that's great advice. I would say my advice to kids, and they're not going to want to hear it right now. I completely agree with what you just said. And it goes back to your first children's book, Feathers Matter. Who you surround yourself with can cost you your life. Yeah. But for me, it's find a way to know Jesus, because when things are at its worst, as we know, he will not leave you. He will not forsake you. He will be there, and he will, even because we're all going to go through these ups and downs in life. And if you don't have that strong, firm faith foundation, I was walking with Dane this week and I was like, I wish you'd pick up your Bible. I know at 14, that's not the fun thing to do, but the answers to what you're seeking are in there. The peace that you need. If I would have realized at your age, I could have avoided so many mistakes in my life. And I just don't want those mistakes for you. I know you have to go and make some of them, but I also know that so many answers are in the Bible that are, if you surround yourself with people in our church that are good influences, those are going to be super important, which kind of ties into what you just talked about. But that's my number one is find a church where you can grow closer in your faith to God, find people, read your Bible, do those things.
Who you surround yourself with is a direct tie into that, because
yes, 100%.
That doesn't rule out Jesus. Like surround yourself with him.
Yeah, 100%.
I think the last thing for me is just a few other quick things I wrote down. I jotted down in the book. He said, I will allow my memories to guide me, but I will not allow them to use me. And this whole theme of getting stuck living in the past.
That was powerful.
It's powerful and it's brutal, because the past is what I crave naturally because our whole family was together. Mm-hmm. But you've got to get in a space where you allow yourself to dream and look ahead. And as hard as that is, because it feels like then you're forgetting your past in some aspects. And I mean, I know better than that, right? And I know I have to be looking ahead. But the irony of it is that if you look ahead and you feel fearful, it's not that you're afraid of your future. It's that you're afraid because of your past. And then I'm kind of like, hashtag no shit. No shit. I'm afraid that my past could repeat itself. What if we would lose another child? Like, there's all these things. I know what could happen. I experienced it. I never want to go through that again. Yet I don't have control over that. So how do I, and I don't have the answer to this, but like, how do I be more willing to look ahead and not feel like I'm trying to hold on so tight to what was behind me? So I just thought there's just interesting to think through that part of it. Of like,
was definitely
hold on to your memories, but don't allow your memories to use you.
It was definitely a part of the book that stuck out to me as well, because obviously for us, the last 2.5 years has been hanging on to memories, and we never want to lose those. That's why we talk about Hallie so much. I mean, just telling you yesterday about something I do every day that makes me think of her, but also being able to allow ourselves to dream again and to feel like we can do something with the pain that's beautiful, that will allow our family to grow. Because maybe someday there's grandkids. One of those grandkids may be a spitting image of Hallie. We don't know, right? Maybe one of the twins has a grandbaby that reminds us so much. So there's so many things that we can do if we allow our minds to dream the possibility. And then I just think the one final takeaway for me was at the end when he told the story of his dad and why he wrote the book. And it wasn't just for me that, his dad, after 15 years, he was a 15-year-old boy when this happened, went to rehab again, and he did get sober this time and spent the rest of his years on this earth helping other people. But it was for me that belief that there is power. Jesus has the power to do one more with all of us. And that may be with weight loss. That may be with relationships. That may be in healing a broken relationship. That may be bringing somebody that we thought had no business ever being associated with Jesus to him. He has the power to do all of those things when we believe it and when we put many of these principles into practice. And for whatever reason, that really just struck with me. It really inspired me and really made me love the book so much that I hoped that you would read it just so we could connect over it. So
we could talk about it.
Well, it wasn't my initial thought, but yeah, I did want to be able to talk with you about it. I didn't realize we would share it with everyone, but I'm glad that we have. And I'm sure that we have some people listening who, if they read the book, are going to love the fact that they did. All right, Ange, what are you grateful for today?
Well, we actually already kind of covered it, but when I think about what I'm grateful for is that we had a productive weekend together. I'm grateful that we're wired the same way, because it would have sucked this weekend if we weren't both trying to check those boxes.
Yeah.
And, it just feels good to begin the week with declutter, clean fridge, clean lights, clean garage, all of that stuff. It's like clean mind, ready for the week. Looking forward to the week. I know I'm going to be gone a couple of days in St. Louis, but wrapping that little trip with the Cardinals opening day with you and Dane. So I think it should be a good week.
Yeah, I'm just grateful for the time that you and I had together. Yesterday was a wonderful day for you and I. And I would say that over the last several weeks, between our trip and just things that we've accomplished together, it's been a nice time for our marriage as we get close to our anniversary in a couple of weeks to kind of look forward to what year number 4 could have in store for us. And I am grateful for you. I would just say that. And I mean that in a way of how you do challenge me to be a better version of myself. And that's in all things that I do. And sometimes I do that easier than others. Sometimes I kick and I scream from time to time. And sometimes I get right on board. But you are definitely a driving force in that for me. And so grateful for that. So, and that's not me sitting here talking about how pretty I think you are, which I know, annoys you. So this was a personal thing that I'm sharing.
Talk about the compliment you gave me yesterday.
It was a compliment. This is a male-female difference. I give my wife compliments. She doesn't.
No. real quick. 'Cause
I'm
the ladies,
gonna
the
disagree
ladies are
with
all
this.
They're all gonna rally.
Maybe,
We were-
but some may be like, oh, we agree with Eric. So let's see.
We were in the bathroom getting ready to go to a summer soccer game. And you're like, oh, that outfit looks good. Only you weren't looking at the outfit. You were looking at my butt. And
In that
I'm
moment
like,
when you looked
"Listen,
over.
This is not a compliment whenever you're just looking at one body part
I wasn't.
and
Okay.
tell me my outfit looks good. I'm like,
You were
"That's
wearing
not
a
compliment."
white quarter zip on top, and then you had your jeans on the bottom. So I know what you're wearing. Your hair was curled. Your makeup was done. Your tan looked great. You looked great. But because I happened to glance at your bootay, I did. You latched onto that was the compliment. I'll say this to you, whether it's about that body part or your body as a whole, I think you're a beautiful woman. And I like to tell you that. Now, ladies, if you're listening, rally around this. How many of you wish that on a regular basis, your husband was like, I think you look amazing. I love this outfit. I think you look great. Would it matter to you what they were looking at in that moment when they said it? Some of you probably. Some of you are like, I just like the compliment. I would just say to you again, I think Angie is, I've said this, most beautiful woman, inside and out. And yeah, sometimes I look at your butt. Sometimes I'm looking at your face. Sometimes I might be looking at your arm. I don't know, but I do find you to be that attractive. And so, yeah, I think there are some ladies that probably wish that they had a man that loved them fully, all body parts that much. That's where
All
I
right,
would leave it.
we'll be looking for some comments on our post on this podcast.
So
Power of one more.
The power of one
Also,
more compliment. Yeah.
One more vote. One more vote.
Oh, yes. Thank you. If you go to our socials, Angie's posted about it, but you can just go direct insidecolumbia.net and vote daily from your email for the Best of Columbia 2025. We are up for Best Local Podcast. You do not have to vote in every category. There's lots of categories that'll take you 5-10 minutes a day. You can just go to the Best Local Podcast. We're one of 5 finalists, and we would really, really appreciate your votes daily. Okay, now I think we've covered everything, and we got more chores to do, honey.
Yes, I gotta finish the fridge. Gotta go.
I gotta get on the garage. All right, you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you for listening, and God bless. Thank you for listening to Blended Blessed and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.